Hello and welcome to the interview on France 24. My guest is Christiana Figueres. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for the invitation.
You are the Executive Secretary of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. You founded in 1995 the Center for Sustainable Development of the Americas, and you held several positions in the government of Costa Rica. You were also on the executive board of the Clean Development. You said, Christiana Figueres, the impacts of climate change are a wake-up to all of us. What kind of wake-up call is it?
It's a wake-up call to action. It's a wake-up call to action on the part of governments, and we're seeing that they are moving actually at an accelerated pace toward an agreement in Paris in December. So certainly to governments at the federal level. It's a wake-up call to governments at the subnational level because 80% of the population actually lives in cities. So what happens at the city level, at the subnational level, is very critical. And it certainly is a wake-up call to corporations, and that is what this week is about, a wake-up call to corporations, which is not new. This movement of corporations has been taking speed and has been taking momentum over the past few years. So it's actually quite wonderful to see that we have reached this level of engagement.
Copenhagen was a disaster. Do you think that Paris will be a success?
I know that Paris will be a success, but Copenhagen was also not a disaster because we actually learned a lot from Copenhagen, and a lot of the structure that is being worked on now actually came from Copenhagen. But despite that, yes, I know that Paris will be a success.
196 countries?
194.
94, they need to sign an agreement. They will, do you think, sign an agreement in Paris? What are the biggest hurdles, according to you?
I think the biggest hurdle is probably finance, because we're asking developing countries to do something that nobody has ever done before. We're asking developing countries to continue their economic growth, to continue their prosperity, to continue to bring their poor people out of poverty, but do so in a completely different way to what everybody else has done. To do so without a carbon footprint, without greenhouse gas emissions. There is no country in the world, in history, that has done that. So we're asking developing countries that anyway have many other problems on their plate to do something that has never been done before. Obviously, they need financial support to do that.
They need to be helped with the Green Fund?
They need to be held way beyond the Green Fund. The Green Fund is a very, very small detail. No, this transformation...
It requires $100 billion. It's already only, what?
10.2. Yes, but this transformation is not about billions of dollars. This transformation is about trillions of dollars. So the $1 billion is a political statement and needs to be there because it's politically important. But it makes no material sense with respect to the energy transformation that needs to occur. That is a transformation in the trillions.
François Hollande and Angela Merkel actually were in Berlin, and they pledged for an ambitious deal in Paris. The goal is to limit the rise in global temperature to 2 degrees Celsius.
No, to stay under 2 degrees.
Under 2 degrees Celsius. How can you actually stick to climate commitments and at the same time protect industry and jobs? Because all of a sudden in Germany, coal operators protest, and they're saying that 100,000 jobs are at stake.
Yeah, there's actually only a couple of thousand jobs at stake because the coal industry worldwide actually does not employ that many people. And
but it's rising.
No, it's actually on the decrease because demand for coal is on the decrease. And I was just last week in Australia speaking to coal miners who themselves don't want that kind of a job anymore because it is not good for their health. It's not good for their families.
Lobbies, I guess.
And they're actually lobbying in the other direction. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
So what they would like, they want a just transition. They want to know what other opportunities do they have. They're highly skilled, highly dedicated people, very, very smart people, and they want to know how else can they use their skills. What we need to do with those people is give them a transition. Yes, I think in Germany we will see the same thing.
So you're positive on this. 1,000 of CEOs actually gathered here. You said there's something to do with the private industry. What should companies do? What should they do?
Companies should understand that while governments are moving forward to provide them with regulatory certainty at the global level and at the national level, that companies cannot wait for policy perfection. They have to realize that there is policy visibility now. They have to realize that there is a strong directional signal that we are moving into a low-carbon economy. And they have to realize that it is in their own interest, in their business continuity interest, to actually accelerate their engagement on low-carbon services and products.
Do you have that feeling here today, talking to them, that they're moving towards the right direction?
Yes, not every single one at the same pace, but that's also true for governments. Everybody moves at a different pace, but in the same direction.
Partnerships between public and private companies, do you think that's key?
Yes, that's a very important part. It's a very important part because companies do need governments to de-risk some of the investment, and they certainly need policies that are going to allow them to make the investments in the direction that they want to make. Fiscal policies, you know, and investment policies, all of those are actually very, very key. So yes,
they need to work hand in hand, governments and companies.
No other way.
CEOs actually call for a price on carbon. What do you think about that? How could it be done?
Well, the fact is that most companies already have a price on carbon. They already have what they call a shadow price on carbon, and that's anywhere between $60 to $80 a ton. And most responsible companies have that already in their decision-making process and are yet today already making decisions including that shadow price on carbon. So what they're asking is for the governments of their countries to have an overt, as opposed to a covert, price on carbon. And the fact is there is a price on carbon already in 40 jurisdictions around the world.
But it collapsed after the crisis.
No, but you're talking only about ETS in Europe. The world is much larger than Europe.
Then you're right.
And
it could be a good start.
Well, yes, there's a lot to be learned from the ETS in Europe, but there are 40 jurisdictions around the world that have a price on carbon one way or the other. Either it's a tax or it's an ETS system or some kind of other market system. And all of these are actually very important learning opportunities because nobody knows how to do this. Nobody has done it before. So everybody is learning according to their own circumstances.
You have to be practical.
You have to be practical, you also have to be ambitious.
And ambitious. I read that $90 trillion will be invested in infrastructure over the next 15 years. It's a huge opportunity. It's also a potential risk for green economy.
It is a risk because if those 90 trillion are invested into infrastructure and energy sources of the last century, then the calendar will say that we're in 2015, but we're actually still going to be in 1990 something. So we have to make sure that those 90 trillion are actually invested into the kind of fuel sources and the kind of resilient infrastructure that we need for this century, so that it's not just the calendar that says that we're in the 21st century, but the global economy needs to recognize it also.
How can we do something about it?
Well, the Paris Agreement will be a very important part of that because that will cement the directional signal for investment.
Thank you very much
for
being my guest. And thanks to you for watching. Stay tuned on France 24.